Hello everybody and welcome to Benivo Bites, the world's first global mobility technology show. I see people coming in from all over the world. We had Ana Helena from Portugal, we had Emily, we've got Karina from Mexico, we've got Begonia from Germany. Oh my God, people coming from all over, from India, from Radhika to Bill from Georgia. So not really, he said. Yvette from the sunny DMV. We've got people all over the world. This is so exciting, and many thanks all of you for tuning in and for saying you're here out there in the world for us. We really appreciate it. You know how this works, everybody. Join the conversation, write in the comments box. The only way we know you're out there is if you write in the comments box, and that's the way that we know you're there, and indeed all your friends around the world in global mobility know you're there. So join in the conversation. If you hear something you like, that you're interested in, hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. Let's share the love in the world. So today we've got an amazing show for you. I'm delighted to say we're talking about a really important subject, which is employee experience. And we've done some polls about that, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But employee experience is just so vital. Everybody knows employee experience is vital. But the question is, how do we actually do it? How do we get an employee experience that is awesome? Hi there to Lynn. I can see Lynn coming in. I can see I can't see your name from Pittsburgh coming in. We've got Nicola. Always good to see you, Nicola, a regular on our show. So people are coming in from all over the world. My good friend Pankaj coming in from India. So anyway, we've got a great show lined up for you. So and then next week, we've got another great show actually. Next week, we're going to be talking about spinning out. So we're going to be talking about life after demerger. And the company that we're featuring next week is a company that is 400 years old, but then got spun out and is now actually just a few years old post spinning out. So it's all about what life is like when you start from being in a very sort of old established company and all of a sudden you are liberated, you're set free as a new venture. So that's going to be a fascinating show next week. Not only hopefully is this all a lot of fun for you, but you can also get all your credits. So here are the credits. So if you need CPE credits from GMS, and many thanks to all our friends at ERC, GMS or CRP codes that are up there. If you want your codes, your HRCI codes or your SHRM codes for CPE, many thanks to Lisa Fontana and the team at Rocket Mortgage. Those are the codes. So if you want those codes, just write them down now. You can do it the old-fashioned way. You can get a pen and paper and write them down. You can screenshot it, or of course, you can just get your phone out and take a quick photo of those codes as they fly by. We'll leave that there for a moment. But meanwhile, what I do want to do is just talk about the breaking news. What has been happening in the last 7 days in this wonderful world in global mobility? And the answer actually is quite a lot. It's a lot that happens in 7 days. So here it is. Here is 7 days of news in the wonderful industry that we all love of global mobility. So a lot of news going on. Congratulations to everyone who's been promoted. Congratulations to everybody who's moved job, but also maybe a lot less positively. We've also seen a few waves of redundancies amongst tech companies. We've seen it with Twitter, with Meta, with Stripe, with Amazon. So there's a lot of things going on, which is clearly not so good. Anything we can do to help people in difficult times, then do feel free to reach out, and whatever we can do, we will help. And that is a promise from me and from the team here on the show. And also, we've seen Twitter abandon work from home, which is a really interesting development, and it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks and months, amongst other companies and indeed amongst Twitter. But let's move on to immigration now. And every week we have an immigration update with the wonderful Julia Onslow-Cole. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's say a really big hello and indeed a thank you to all her hard work to Julia Onslow-Cole.
Hi, Brian.
So Julia, hi. And I know you're going to be covering Asia Pacific. You told me you're going to do 7 countries in 4.5 minutes or so. But I'm going to ask you one question before we start, and I promise that doesn't count into your cut into your 4.5. Is I noticed many congratulations. You've hired Darren Gibson, the People Advisory Services lead at EY, into Fragment. That sounds like a very intriguing hire.
Yes, we're all really, really excited about it. And I had the great privilege to meet him when I was in Singapore last week. And he's coming to London soon. So yes, it's really exciting for the firm.
Okay, well, exciting, intriguing move. Anyway, Julia, now your time starts now. You're going to tell us about 7 countries in, you told me, 4.5 minutes.
Yes. So starting with Australia, and there's a new Labour government at the beginning of May, or at the end of May. That was after 9 years of a coalition government. And it was really interesting when I was in Singapore last week to meet the Global Skills Attraction Officers. So these are officers that are posted in different countries, and there's quite a team in Singapore to attract people to Australia. They confirmed that the new government had a very forward-leaning policy on immigration, and there's this big task force that's just been announced and a huge review. Now, the one message I want to leave everyone with is that if you have anything to give to the Australian government, and you have some comments about skills policies and talent, now is the time, because the government's really open. It's got this task force, and that's my message on Australia. Moving to Singapore, there is this one pass. It's called the One Pass, which is going to come into effect in the beginning of January. It's for a 5-year period. It's a self-sponsored application. You've got to earn 30,000 Singapore dollars, and you can renew it. And it's creating a lot of interest in Singapore. And my second message for everyone out there is for Singapore, you must really follow what's happening with this One Pass, because one of the key features of it is that you will be allowed to bring your partner who can work on this One Pass. Now, the thing is that you will recall that the Ministry of Manpower cut back the policy on partners automatically being able to work, and they did away with to effectively letters of consent. So high earners who want to have the ability for their spouses to work and like the idea of being self-sponsored, this is for them. So I will be giving you updates, but I just wanted to call that out. Moving on quickly to China. I spoke to Becky Shear, my partner, yesterday very early in the morning, and she said that the quarantine regulations were easing over the last 7 days. You don't have to quarantine for quite so many days. And the good news for your very high-end business travelers is that now a number of 5-star hotels have signed up to be quarantine hotels, so you can put your travelers in those hotels. Moving on to Malaysia, and thank you, Magdalene Tennant, for this. There's a general election on the 19th of November, but there's 2 new passes, and these are very important, and we don't think these will be affected by the election. The first one is a digital nomad pass, and there's a couple of variations of that. But the second one, which I just wanted to pull out and highlight for you, is a new short-term pass where you can go to Malaysia for 30 days if you're doing critical work. It can't be extended, but critical work would cover emergency work, repair, installations. So this is really, really valuable for companies that are doing things in Malaysia. Moving on now to Thailand, and thank you, Kenny Lau. There's a huge interest in a new visa in Thailand, which was introduced on the 1st of September, called the long-term resident visa. Thailand has caused much interest, lots of digital nomads in Thailand, but this 10-year visa is for, it has 4 categories: the wealthy global citizen, the wealthy pensioner, the work from Thailand professional, and the highly skilled professional. And we had information from the government that as at the end of October, there was 1,350 applications and just 100 approvals. And that's because they're a little bit slow in approving them. But at the moment, most of them are wealthy pensioner category, but we've got loads of interest for executives. So that's another thing to be very aware of. And the final thing I'm just going to pull out for you is Vietnam. It's really, really difficult at the moment in Vietnam. They've changed the rules, and not only have they changed nationally, but locally. And it's really, really important that you get to grips with the rules and warn your employees and your global mobility people in Vietnam, because now they've withdrawn the right of third-party vendors to go to with local employees, or to go with them to renew their applications. The employees have to go themselves, and they have to take someone from the HR department. So they're not just for one visit, but they have to do 2. So you can imagine the nightmare that this is causing, and it's also causing a huge backlog in applications. So people who will not been used to this before will wonder why it's taken so long, why they have to go, and why they have to be accompanied. So it's really important to find out about that. Thank you. That's my quick update on Asia.
That was just amazing. I saw a comment there from Stephanie Doré saying, so many employees are excited about the One Pass already. It's great news.
It is, Stephanie. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, Julia, a real tour de force, much, much appreciated. Again, congratulations on hiring in Darren Gibson. I think that could be quite significant for you guys. So, all great news. And everybody out there, with all your breaking news, do make sure you keep sending it in to us, and we'll make sure we cover it each week. Now all that remains is for us to say goodbye to Julia and to bring on our Changemaker for the week, who is Alison Hodges. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and say a really big thank you to Julia Onslow-Cole and a nice welcome to Alison Hodges. Hey, Alison. Hey.
You like the music?
You're liking the music.
Yeah.
Alison, it's so great to have you on the show. And first of all, a big thank you for being one of our change makers. It's truly appreciated. So, Alison, I know you've been on the show before, but for people who don't know you, tell us a bit about yourself, about your role, what Bayer does, and in particular your role at Bayer in the US.
Sure. So I am the employer branding and early talent specialist for Bayer US. I help with all of how we show up in outreach events. I coordinate all that, and I manage the programmatic side of our intern and co-op program for our 300 sites across the US and the over 300 interns we welcome every year to Bayer. So it's a fun, busy job, keeps me on my toes. I really enjoy it. And I'm based out of St. Louis, Missouri, in the good old heartland of the USA.
Cool. And our change makers are people that have got a passion for making the world better, or making the business world better through technology. So tell me a bit about your sort of interest in technology, either, if you like, as an input into the occasion or an output. What are you looking to achieve with technology?
So I think with our relationship, with Bayer's relationship with Benivo, it's because we understand the need to leverage technology to create a great end-to-end employee onboarding experience. And you all have by far the best platform for that. It's user-friendly, it's tech-savvy, it creates a lot of opportunity for students, our students, to engage with each other before, during, and after their time with us. And most importantly, in my world, Mark and the team make my job so much easier because they do a lot of heavy lifting for me. So I wouldn't say I'm tech savvy. I would say, thank goodness Benivo's tech savvy and I have Benivo.
Well, that's really kind. But I think what we appreciate as well is the fact when we're looking at developing things, we have people like you, and I think we're close on 100 change makers now. I saw Begonia in the audience, another change maker, was talking about it in the comments. And it allows us to design stuff that the industry wants and to road test it and road test the concept with people to find out if we're on the right track or how we can do things. So we really appreciate it. And the other side of the coin, of course, is that it allows us to give back because we support charities. We let every change maker nominate a charity. And if anybody wants to be a change maker, then do reach out to us because we're always looking for more. But Alison, so you're on your second charity, because I think you were with another charity last year and you've moved on. So tell us about the charity last year and also this year.
So my first charity of choice as a change maker was St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. I chose an organization that's global and again, focus on kids and everything that they do to help children with diseases and their families cope with those diseases and find cures. And you couldn't find a better organization in the world that focuses on that. And being with a global company who's a leader in searching for innovative ways to create health for all, it was an easy reach for me. Local connection, my middle son went to college in Memphis, Tennessee, right down the road from St. Jude's. So a lot of connection there for me personally as well. And you couldn't find a better organization that works for kids and families than St. Jude's.
Okay. And then this year you've moved on to a different charity.
I chose this year to go a little bit more local to my home in St. Louis, Missouri, with an organization called the Little Bit Foundation. My roots in my career are as a teacher and a service learning director. So the Little Bit Foundation was an organization that we partnered with at the school I taught at. They serve the St. Louis, Missouri area and students in the most under-resourced school communities, supporting those students' individual needs and helping them meet their goals, and then celebrating their successes along the way. So it's just a total win-win for me as an educator. I can still consider myself an educator, and for the underserved communities in St. Louis. The Little Bit Foundation they're not lobbyists. They're purely grassroots. They work in the community with the schools in the area, providing essential supplies and clothing for students so that they can feel good about themselves and show up to school ready to learn. They provide academic enrichment with books and Lego leagues and a myriad of other things that that help students further their academic goals. They provide health and nutrition, anything from oral health all the way to mobile food markets, so that families can help themselves.
I can see how passionate you are about this charity. And again, thank you so much for being one of our change makers. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Alison, we're going to love you and leave you at this point. We will bring you back. We will bring you back at the end of the show to join in, because I know employee experience is something you're also very, very passionate to talk about. Meanwhile, we're going to bring on Tali to tell us a little bit about some of the things that are going on elsewhere around the world, including the fact that our top 100 innovators nominations for that closes today. So if you want to make any nominations for the top 100, you've literally got hours left before that ends. So everybody, let's hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, say a good old-fashioned thank you to Alison Hodges for all her work in the community and as a change maker. And let's welcome to the stage the woman who makes this show happen behind the scenes, the wonderful Dr. Talia Gorin. Tali, let's bring you on stage. Tali, hi. So I should say thank you to all our wonderful sponsors. We've been featuring them all on the show reel every week, but they've all been wonderfully supportive of the top 100. So Tali, tell us.
They're going to be with us on the reveal show, which will be on the 14th of December. So we're going to see all of them and hear them.
Everybody mark your diary, 14th of December.
14th of
we
December.
will be revealing the top 100 innovators.
But before that, today is, as you said, the last chance to nominate, and we have way over 100, and we still want more. And by the end of today, the big work would be ours, and we're going to have to choose the top 100. So even if you know that someone from your team was already nominated, please go ahead and nominate them again, because it's going to be this time both quantity and quality. So if the person was nominated more than once, but also what's the quality, because we do have this sentence there that we want to know why you think this one is a good nominate, is a good nominee, and we're going to have to choose out of the many nominees that we now have. So that's going to happen today, last chance, and I already posted the link. And the second thing that I want to mention today, as Brian mentioned, we talked a bit with Alison about being a change maker, and it's so much fun to see always our friends, our change makers in the audience today. I saw Begonia, I saw Nicola, I saw Ellen and Petra, and it's always so good to see all of you guys here. And it's a message to our change makers who are watching us now that we have some new Slack channels. And we're going to have a discussion about worker compliance. We already have amazing contributions from Nicola in this discussion group. So go ahead, check that if you haven't done so yet. And also in line with the layover and the need for jobs, we have opened a new channel for global mobility jobs. So please check this one also. And soon we're going to have live discussions about, especially about the worker compliance and some other subjects that are coming up from the group. So stay tuned. And if anyone wants to join us, yes, I saw I saw already comments in the comments. As Beth shared, you can join us using this link below, and we'd be happy to have you.
Absolutely. So, Tally, thank you so much for that, and thanks for all the work you do, both on the show and on the Changemakers initiative. What we're going to do now is we're going to be moving on to discussion about improving employee experience. I'm delighted to say we have with us Ramesh Phillips,
who's also a change maker.
Also a change maker.
Yeah.
And is formerly with Wipro, and he's going to be talking about the work that he's been doing there, and our very own Tom Pinfield-Wells. So without any further ado, everybody hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's say thank you to Tally, and let's welcome Ramesh and Tom. Hi, both. Good to see you both. So let's start with you, Ramesh. Whereabouts in the world are you? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I'm based out of London. I used to work for Wipro until last month. I moved out, because I wanted to start off with my own business venture, which will be launched shortly.
We'll make sure we give you a shout out when you launch that officially. So congratulations on that exciting step into the unknown. But Ramesh, you've been with Wipro a long time, haven't you? So tell us about your personal career and how you got involved in this whole area.
Yeah, I have been with Wipro for the past 27 years. Wow. I joined Wipro way back in 1995. Most of you were probably not even born at that time. I'm talking about the audience here. It's like 95 in Bangalore. I started off working in payroll and taxation department to start with. And then after 2 years, I was relocated to London. So that's why this whole concept of mobility, the experience, everything started, taking stage for us. And when I moved to London, my role was literally a little bit of everything. I was doing immigration. I was doing, employees, connecting with the employees, ensuring their relocations and other things, finance, accounting, and also real estate, right? So these were, multitude of roles because we only had 35 employees in UK. We didn't have any other offices, just one office in London. And that was very interesting because I came here to start literally everything in terms of support process, policies, completely setting up a new office, everything, and also connecting with the employees, starting, with getting the suppliers onboarded, everything to make sure that the operation goes smooth. In fact, at that point in time, Wipro's business was roughly about, 1 million, if not less, right? And 35 employees across UK. So it was very easy those days. Everything was manual. Internet was the only big thing we had, and those, manual mobiles, which you used to have.
And what did it grow to? So it was about 35 employees then. How big has the company grown? Because I suspect there's a lot of people out there that don't really know Wipro that well, even though you're massive. So
we are currently
now.
When I said 35 employees, it was in Europe. Overall, Wipro currently has 250,000 plus employees across the world. In Europe itself, there is a huge number of employees here, and we are spread over 26 countries just in Europe. And there are about 100 plus offices in Wipro, at the moment. Okay. So that's where it has grown from one office in London to offices across 26 cities in Europe.
Unbelievable. We'll get on to that in a moment. Tom, just introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so my name's Tom. I'm based in London. I grew up on a small island on the south coast of the UK called the Isle of Wight. And I work in our client success team here at Benivo. So essentially responsible for making sure clients are getting the best out of the platform and our solutions. So I met Ramesh when implementing the Wipro platform, and also worked with some of our other kind of India outbound type populations and clients across some of our other clients.
Which is a huge market now. I mean, if you go back 20 years, most people were doing Indian inbound and there were outsourcing centers. And now, of course, we've had the rise of major companies like Wipro and various others. And there's a lot of interest in India outbound. It's been one of the big economic changes, I think, of probably the last 25 years, is the rise of India as an outbound provider of services rather than just inbound. So, Ramesh, you've been working what I can only call a mega growth environment. I mean, what's that like? Is it stressful? I mean, and I suppose we get onto that, and we're talking about employee experience. How can you create, or what's an employee experience like when you're in an environment that is growing just so fast? I mean, you said you went from 35 employees, that was in Europe, to 250,000 worldwide. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
It is actually very, very, very challenging. No one day is, the same. Every day things are changing, employees are getting recruited, and then suddenly we're getting to learn, okay, this is what we need to do. This is whom we need to partner. This is the kind of policies we need to work. The framework changes, the process changes, and the kind of partners that we were working with earlier as a small company changes to, larger partners, because we have to cater to so many different types of, transactions that comes aboard, when we are expanding. Then the kind of recruitment we do, getting people every other week, there will be 10 people recruiting, then it becomes 20 people, 50 people, like that, 50 employees. So it is, evolving process. It's pretty challenging, and we need to be ready for everything. That's what makes the company very resilient, and we need to make sure that everything goes in a very smooth phase. That's how it was. It was challenging.
Okay, and I've got a question that I want to ask the audience. Okay, so audience, this is your time, and the question is this. I mean, so I think it's a fairly obvious question, but I'd be interested in how you respond. How important is employee experience when you're moving an employee cross-border, whether it's permanent transfer, assignment, business travel? When you're moving somebody cross-border, how important is the employee experience? And the choices that I'm going to give you is, it's not really on our radar. It's just something, we just tell people they move, they just got to do it. It's moderately important, or it's super important. So on a scale of not really very much to super important, how important is the actual employee experience? So we're not talking about the fact you're going to get the person to the next place, because clearly we know you're going to get them there. But in terms of how much they enjoyed the experience, how good that employee experience was. So what do you say? Is it on our radar? Is it moderately important, or is it super important from our perspective as the people doing the moving? I mean, Tom, I'll start with you, and then and we'll take the audience's comments when they come in. We'll start putting them on the screen. Actually, they're coming in now, so we'll just take them and see what people say. Peter Knight saying super important. Bill Baker, super important. Somebody else, super important. I think they're all moving. I mean, what are you seeing, Tom, across clients generally? And then maybe we'll go specifically with your experience, Ramesh.
Yeah, I'd say definitely in the super important category. I think, and increasingly so, I think the more clients they speak with, that focus is getting higher and higher up on the agenda in terms of the priorities against other conflicting things. Because I think everyone would say in an ideal world, they want the employee to have a good experience, but I think I'm definitely seeing an increase in that moving higher and higher up the priority list.
Okay, and Ramesh, from your point of view, presumably that's the whole reason that you engaged with Benivo and you did all the other work you're doing, is because to you and to Wipro, employee experience was super important.
Very important, absolutely. Yeah. Without any doubt, it is the most important, keyword for across all industries, right? Employee experience. It's enhancing the employee experience, which matters, because we traditionally had, a focus on employee experience. We had a certain process for employees to, travel, and I'm talking about pre-COVID. post-COVID, everything changed, right? The focus in traveling itself kind of changed from an employee perspective.
Well, let's get that into that in a moment, because I just want to take some of the survey results, because we've actually did a survey on this, and what people said, and this was a LinkedIn survey, is that I think 4% said it wasn't really on their radar, 3% said it was moderately important, but a whopping great 93%. I don't ever think I've ever seen a poll quite so decisive. 93% said employee experience is super important. Now, the irony, and this is what I want to come on to before we get into a bit more depth, is we then actually asked them to be honest, and I'll ask the audience the same, and say, well, actually, what's it like? So we've all agreed that employee experience is super important, but actually, how was it for you? If we can ask that question. Okay, how would your typical expat, and I use the word expat very, very loosely as meaning anybody who's moving cross-border, how would your typical expat describe the experience that they actually enjoyed or indeed endured? And the choices that we gave, we did a poll on this, but again, I want to know what you guys out in the audience say, is, and please be honest, your typical expat, how would they describe their moving experience? And your choices are a little bit bumpy, it was okay, but not great, or it was awesome, it was a wow experience, okay? So out in the audience, let us know what you think. If you're looking at your typical expat, and please be honest, we won't release this data to your employers. Just tell us, roughly speaking, what is your typical assignee? How did they think? Was it a bit bumpy, their moving experience? Was it okay, but not great? Or did you actually manage, on average, to get an awesome experience? So let's see what comments are coming in there. We'll give that a moment and see what comments we're getting on that. When we asked on LinkedIn, we're saying, oh, there's a great comment there from Mena. She says, the duty of any employee is to complain. Oh, cynicism isn't dead yet. Great comment. And Peter Knight, I think Peter from memory is with Rolls-Royce, says, okay, but not great. Definite room for improvement. In terms of the answers to the poll, when we did the poll, this is what people said. A third, 33%, said it was a little bit bumpy. 58% said, a bit like I think Peter was saying, okay, but not great. And only 9% said it was awesome. Now, this is quite interesting, isn't it? What we've got is we've said, what have we said? 93% of us say that employee experience is super important, but actually only 9% would say that the actual experience hits the awesome button. So that raises the fact there is a big gap between what we should be having and what we're actually having. So let me just turn it around, and this is where I will go back to you, Ramesh, and ask you this question. Why is it so important? Why is employee experience so important?
Yeah, because one is, most of the companies' employees are our assets, right? And you have seen the kind of trend that is changing in the environment, where there is that great resignation, and people now can shift job whenever they want. The loyalty factor has actually come down, from what it used to be before. So employees are looking at change. Employees are looking at, new avenues, whenever they want, and they want to work the way they want to work, right? In terms of experience, in terms of hybrid working style, so things have changed so much that if you don't give the right experience and keep them comfortable, they would leave the company. So that is precisely one of the main reasons why it is too important.
So that addresses employee experience generally, why employee, but specifically then people moving cross-border. Why is employee experience so important when you're getting people to move from destination A to destination B?
Very important question that is, Brian, because, an employee earlier days going and settling down in another country, or going for an assignment, for a short-term assignment is always okay. Going on a long-term assignment, I'm from, used to work for an IT company. So there used to be a lot of back and forth employees traveling, relocating to many countries. But when it comes to relocation, the employee experience is super critical, because they are kind of, leaving their entire comfort zone in their home country and moving to a new country. That is an unknown space for them, for most of them. And for them to do that, if you don't give them that comfort factor, and then don't give them that seamless, simplified, experience, and handhold them and say, guys, we are there for you. We are there to support you every step of the way. If you don't do that, employees are not likely to travel, because the trend again has changed from employees willing to travel to employees questioning, why should I travel? How long? What are the kind of benefits am I going to get?
Do you think there's a difference then? And maybe I'll bring Tom into the conversation too at this point. Do you think there's a difference then pre and post pandemic in terms of how people feel about traveling?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Pre-COVID, employees were traveling. It was traditional way of working. Things were okay. There was a loyalty factor. Employees were stuck to a company for some time, and they were traveling as usual. And the policies were all, there to cover the employees. It was not that employee experience was not there before. It just changed, and it has changed a bit too much, after COVID. So that's precisely the reason why, the employees nowadays prefer to stay at their comfort zone wherever they want to be. It's not where the company wants them to send. So that's the reason it is very critical at the moment.
So, Tom, have you been experiencing a level of travel hesitancy that people need convincing to travel abroad?
I think the biggest thing I'm noticing particularly across my clients, and it was something as well that we worked together with Ramesh on, but it was making sure that we're addressing individual people's needs. Ultimately, everyone is different and everyone has slightly different needs. What is right for one person is going to be completely different for someone else. So I think giving somebody the flexibility to manage the move in the way that they want to do is really the way that we're seeing clients change policies to focus on a more flexible approach, just to get those moves over the line and to encourage those people to travel.
Okay, and I think in a moment, Tom, I'll get you to just show a little bit of a demo of some software that people are using. But Ramesh, I know from your point of view, you looked at different solutions because you recognize this as an important, and say Nicola's comment, let's just pull up Nicola's comment again, actually, just want to say that. Employee experience, the more digital it is, the better. Do it via cell phone or don't do it at all. Fair comment, Nicola. And I want to take that up a bit with you, Ramesh. I mean, your view, and obviously you've got a very tech-savvy population at Wipro, but you recognise this problem of employee experience, and you set yourself a mission to do something to improve employee experience for people moving cross-border. Tell me how you went about dealing with that. And I know you ended up using the Benivo solution, and that's just wonderful from our perspective. But just tell us a bit about the thought processes and what you looked at.
Yeah, this was kind of, we were completely re-looking at the entire end-to-end travel process in terms of relocation. The entire process, because each department were kind of working in silos, right? There is immigration department, then there is travel, then there is hotel booking, then there is HR, then there is, recruitment team for onboarding. Everybody were separated out working on their silos. The employee needed one solution. For the employee, it is one relocation solution is what that person was looking for. Whereas the person was made to go into each department, find a solution, then move on to the next one, after the person gets the visa. So we said, okay, we need to relook at, the entire process, make it very simple, seamless, technology driven, adopt new technology for the employee. Earlier, we used to have relocation policies for different geographies, and the geographies themselves used to kind of, own the relocation process, not uniform across the globe, So we wanted one uniform, policy and one uniform partner, one partner to kind of take care of the employees. So everybody gets a similar experience. So that's one of the reasons why we started off launching one to look for a global partner, relocation partner. Change the complete policies. Policies were all there, but it was all kind of outdated. We needed to kind of, refresh it, get the new limits, make changes according to what the world is demanding right now. And also simplify the entire travel process. These are the three things that we undertook, So while the policies were getting revamped and changed and simplified, all the approvals were getting a little bit, earlier it was more complicated, too many approvals. We kind of reduced it to, what is relevant, approvals. Whether it is approved or not, sometimes employees have to travel, they have to travel. So those kind of things we looked into and changed, simplified the process. We used to have, so many rules, when a person actually applies for a travel or a deputation to other countries. There are literally too many rules. We actually simplified and brought down the rules to kind of, 10, say from 100, just as an example. That's what we did. Then finally coming back to relocation. Since each country or each geography, like Americas or Europe or rest of the world, had their own partners, relocation partners, own policies, things, for employees, it was one employee would go to Singapore, he would feel better because the policies were good there. One employee would go to US, it was a bit difficult for the person. And so we said we should bring it all together. That's the reason we kind of, started evaluating almost like 10 to 12 different relocation partners. And then, we obviously, chose to work with Benivo for various different reasons. Benivo was one of these companies, I think Nicola had very rightly said, it has to be technology driven. It has to be a platform for employees.
Let's take that. We talked about technology driven. And so let's start looking at some of the technology. So, Tom, I know we can't show Wipro's actual platform because it's client confidential, but show us in general the sorts of things that we were doing that enhanced employee experience. And I think you've got a screen here I can share. Is that right? Should I share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pull that up. So tell us what we're looking at now.
So what we're looking at the moment is something we worked together on was, depending on the band of employee, we would offer different services that they could initiate to their vendors. So going back to the flexibility, making sure that people can manage the move and construct their benefits in the way that they want to do. And going back to the employee experience, we're giving them all of the information that they have at their fingertips on their phone to see how that experience went for other people before. So they're making an informed decision on the type of benefits that they're going to initiate. But then we don't just show the good, we also show the bad, because not everyone is going to have a great experience with every single service. So we want to make sure that we are completely transparent, not just to our clients, but also to the vendors and the partners that we work with that are carrying out those services. So they can make sure live and in the moment, they can take steps to improve the service and improve the experience of that particular case. And with the data that we get from those insights as well, we can then help clients make sure they're proactively reviewing policies, reviewing what services are being offered. Is there one that actually is not being used? Do we want to swap that out for something else? Is there something that is not actually getting the feedback that they're hoping for? Do we want to plug in another vendor or plug something else in? And just briefly as well, something else in terms of it was mentioned in the comments earlier about expectation setting and employee experience. Any kind of successful customer experience in any setting is all about setting the right expectations and knowing what is going to come next. So something else with those vendor services,
Tom, I'll just stop you for a second. I'm just going to read out Nicola's comment so people can see it. He said, expectation setting, program structure and policy application is the crucial part. You hear less complaints, the less the employee themselves need something to do. Relocation is, in this case, part of the job rather than part of their private life. If they're moving due to business demand, they're less inclined to accept the move personally. And I think the point out there, we'll take that one off screen now, but I think the point about expectation management, and this is what I call, if you like, the Uber or the pizza delivery technology, where you can actually see where you are in the process. And so you can manage expectations. It's not like in the old days, you used to wait for a mini cab and you didn't know quite when it was turning up, or your takeaway, you didn't know when it was going to turn up. These days, you know exactly where it is because you can see the route, and they're managing your expectations. So even if they take longer to arrive, you're okay with it because you can see it's in the process. So tell us a bit more about this, about how we use this sort of technology to manage expectations.
Yeah, so, and it's not just the live status, it's also seeing how long the next step is expected to take. So using predictive analytics and using past data and information that we've seen. So I think in any scenario, if you're promised the world and you get something smaller, you're going to be disappointed. But if you are given clear, defined expectations at the outset, you're going to enjoy whatever that even smaller thing is. So on top of that, because we have the data of all of these live statuses of different services, we can actually then use AI and automated alerts and notifications to make sure that we avoid a situation where something isn't happening on time. So in this example, we can see that we're expecting an introductory call to happen within 2 days. So what we can do is make sure that our platform automatically is flagging to anyone that needs to know, in terms of whether that's the vendor network, whoever it is, that something hasn't yet happened. So with employee experience, we're making sure that that vendor isn't going to forget that this step needs to happen. They've been alerted, and that model happens throughout the various different services that can be initiated. So avoiding escalations and just making sure everything is flowing on time and expectations are ultimately being met.
Okay, so you can turn around to a person whose move may be delayed for some reason. Maybe there's a problem getting the visa or something, but they can be managed in advance. They can be told, don't get your hopes up. This move is not going to happen on the 1st of December because we haven't done stages 1, 2, and 3. And so they know as far in advance where they are. Now, tell me, Tom, I want to move on to another area, which is housing, because I think that's an area which is critically important when anybody's moving, because their first experience of a move is typically the temporary housing. I mean, once they've got through customs, they got into the country and they got their visa, their first actual experience on the ground is housing. So tell us how we can use technology to enhance the housing experience.
Exactly, and it actually connects to something that Ramesh and I worked quite closely on. So the challenge we were trying to solve, particularly together on this particular case, was many of the moves were happening very quickly. So someone's visa was getting approved, and then that person would move and start quite soon after. So in the Benivo platform, as many people that have seen the show before, we have a wealth of information about housing. So whether that's learning about the area that they're moving to, whether that's finding providers to find a house with, avoiding scams, all these things. But we knew in this scenario that we wanted to make sure people were given the information, the vital information, almost immediately. We wanted to make sure that they can get access to the key details straight away. So we pulled together, based on some rounds of feedback that we sat in on with employees, but also triggered by some of the data and the feedback that we were seeing in the platform, we were able to make a quick implementation of a new action in the guidance here, which essentially was giving the key information for each area of the full process of moving. So all the way from, as you say, booking temporary accommodation, all the way to finding a permanent home, avoiding scams and frauds as you go through that process, and seeing reviews and ratings from previous employees that have gone through that same experience all the way through. So again, using data and analytics to learn from past experiences and avoid mistakes, copy things that have worked well. Okay, so let's just bring that back. I might actually bring Alison into the conversation as well. So we've got Alison. I thought I had Alison. There she is. Just bring her into the conversation. Hey, Alison, I'm going to bring you into the conversation so we can get your perspective. So we're looking at this in terms of employee experience for both Ramesh, formerly of Wipro, and Alison at Bayer. I suppose my question is, using technology, has that helped you to enhance the experience, and how? Maybe there's practical examples about how it's actually enhanced employee experience.
Well, in my space, it's mostly students who are doing it really is students who are doing short-term relocation, and how it's enhanced their experience is that in real time, they are able to once they initiate on the platform, go and see they're assigned to their location, the city that they're going to be moving to. They can see assets that are right there for short-term housing. They can get a better understanding of what the community that they're going to be living in looks like. In our case too, when you relocate with us, they don't receive their lump sum until after they start. So we have a tool that we leverage through Benivo where they can opt into a 6-month interest-free loan to offset
the pay later tool.
The pay later feature. And that is a game changer for them, because you're talking about sometimes they're moving for the first time away from home and not going to be on a college campus. So if you're moving to a strange city, you want to be able to familiarize yourself with it. You may not necessarily be able to travel there ahead of time. Those are resources that they would be hunting and pecking for all over the internet, whereas they can go right onto their Benivo account and see it right there in front of them. Very, very easy. And the thing that I love about it is that there's a checklist for them from the day that they initiate it. They just go down the checklist and check things off as they pop up on their to-do list. So it's a no-brainer for the organized person. It's helpful for the maybe not so organized person. So again, just one easy way, a one-stop shop for them to be able to be successful. Additionally, what I love about it is they have the ability to communicate with each other. So when you're talking about moving and relocating for the first time, they can find a roommate, they can get to know other students who are going to be in the same town as them. So it creates I would say more of a sense of community for them before they even start. And how, I mean, that just is a no-brainer for as far as enhancing employee experience at the beginning. So, and then, once they start, it's up to us to maintain it. So we have a hard act to follow.
So that's a bit, I mean, I know sometimes we talk about so many different aspects, we sort of forget aspects. So I don't think we've actually covered pay later on the show for quite a while now. And it's good to remind, I mean, the whole fintech solution is so important. Ramesh, I'll leave the final word to you. I mean, from your point of view, what have you seen in terms of using technology? And obviously I'm talking specifically Benivo technology, but anything else in terms of enhancing employee experience, in terms of the maximizing of the experience, and also, I suppose the other side is taking out cost and saving time as well.
Absolutely, Brian. One is, Benivo has been adaptive to our requirements for each different zones. If it is Americas, if it is London or Belfast, I used to go to, the team there, or Nidzan, who is the CEO. Everybody were open to adapting to what our employees wanted. So that is one of the key, benefits of working through, Benivo. While there is technology, Brian, it's also, keeping in touch with actual people, be it the employees, getting their feedback, by talking to them, and talking to the partners, which is Tom and everybody else, the Benivo team, Pankaj and all of them, supporting us all the time, getting our feedback and trying to change, continued changes, continued evolvement in terms of, what our requirements are. That is what, made it take so far. It's not just one package, that's it, we are not going to do any changes. It's a continued changes, new experience for different types of employees, because each employee has got their own issues when it comes to relocations. That is what, Benivo targeted, which helped a great deal for us.
Okay, so thank you. I'm just going to bring on our producer, Tally, and Julia. Where are you, Julia? Bring Julia on. So the gang is back. We're pretty much out of time. But I just wanted to thank everybody, but also just to remind everybody that in terms of your top 100 nominations for innovators, it is midnight tonight, wherever you are in the world. Okay, so if you want to nominate somebody, then get out there, get on the website, the Benivo website, and nominate. You've got just a few hours left. We are back next week when we're going to have a spinning class. We're going to be talking about spinning out. We're going to be talking about life after demerger. And our guests will be from Nurian Technology that came out of Exo Nobel, and from ECA. So those two companies will be with us this time next week. Meanwhile, everybody, have a great, great week, and thank you for tuning in. And to our regular Julia Onslow-Cole, once again, many thanks. To Tally, the show producer, many thanks. To Alison, our changemaker, and indeed all our other changemakers, many, many thanks. And to our special guest this week, Ramesh Phillips, and our own Tom Pinfield-Wells, many thanks for a fascinating discussion. I'm sure we're going to return to the subject again. There's so much to talk to. But we are now out of time, everybody. So all that remains is for us to wave goodbye and take care, everybody. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.